Hi, everyone, and welcome to DSST 8th grade science eSchool. My name is Mr. Ducharme. I teach 8th grade science at DSST Montview. This is my fifth year at the network teaching 8th grade science. First of all, if you've made it here, you're in the right place. It means you've accessed today's lesson. You're able to open the YouTube video. So that means so far you're off to a great start. First thing, I just want to say this takes an incredible amount of resiliency and responsibility on your part to take care of your education and make sure you're still learning. So thank you off the bat. I know that this is not easy. It's not easy to teach like this. It's not easy to learn like this. And so I just want to say, thank you to the efforts that you and your family have made to make sure you are here learning. Today's lesson is going to be all about getting you set up to be successful in 8th grade science during eSchool for the next couple of weeks. We're always going to have recorded videos like this. Okay. Today, I'm just going to be talking through some of the basics, making sure you understand how to do things. Like I said, the fact you're able to get here tells me you were already into the right lesson. You're already able to access the video. Let's get started. Most important information in your handout, go ahead and scroll down to the Do Now. This chart gives you an overview of what I think you're going to need to understand about science class for the next school or for the rest of the school year. You're always going to have 2 to 3 modules, lessons, that are going to be uploaded by your teacher every week. Okay? 2 to 3 lessons every week. Okay? They're always going to include some version of a classwork packet, and your teacher will have a system for that. Some teachers are using Microsoft Teams and Word documents. Some teachers are using Google Classrooms and Google Docs or other plans that your teacher will have already set up with you. Okay? I want you to note that we will always be uploading the entire week's modules on Monday morning. Those modules for that week need to be completed and turned in on Friday morning at 8 a.m. That's a really important piece of information. Okay? The next thing is we will always do our best to provide you with answer keys. Okay? My videos that look like this, or if your teacher uploads videos that look like this, they will talk through certain parts of the lesson. Anything that is not included in the video, so if there is an independent practice, for example, or the Do Now, those parts of the lesson will always have an answer key. Okay? If you haven't been seeing the answer key or you don't know how to get it, make sure you reach out to your teacher because those always will be made for you to make sure you're on track. Okay? Second, mastery checks must be completed on Edulastic by you. Those need to be independent. We're asking for a lot of integrity here from you to make sure you complete those on your own to see how you're doing with your learning. Our goal with mastery checks is to have that daily check-in still to make sure you're doing well. Okay, work time. We really think it's important that you have time to be with your teacher and still get help. Online learning can be tempting to try to just do by yourself, but it is very easy to get lost and feel overconfident, feel like you know what you're doing when you're actually struggling. So science class will always be taking place Monday through Thursday from 12:35 to 1:35 in the afternoon. I'm going to make a couple notes. I made some videos that had the wrong time in them. Okay? So if you ever hear myself or someone else say it was from 1 to 2, that's wrong. That's what it was a couple weeks ago when we were making plans. Plans change. The final time for science class every week for the rest of the year is going to be Monday through Thursday from 12:35 in the afternoon to 1:35 in the afternoon. So what does that mean? That means that your teacher is going to have an online class during that time. Each teacher is going to run these slightly differently, but you should expect, if you're able to, be logging onto your computer during that time, going onto Microsoft Teams, and your teacher will be setting you up with more specifics about how to do science class from there. That's going to be really critical for you to get help from your teacher, to get that one-on-one support if you have questions or tech issues, to make sure that you're still learning and able to be successful. Now, there's another thing I wanted to point out. If you need other times for help, Friday morning from 9:30 to 10:30 is office hours where you can ask any of your teachers for help. Every one of your teachers should be logging in online, so your science teachers will be available then to help you as well. Also, I want to notice that if you're having issues with Teams, if you're having issues with these things, just email your teacher. You know your teacher's email. You've been with them all year. That's probably going to be the most reliable place to go if you're struggling with new technology. So if you're stuck, if you don't know what to do, if you're lost, just use email. Your teacher's going to get back to you as soon as possible. Based upon what I just said, go ahead and scroll down and answer the 3 Do Now questions. Whenever you have questions in these Google Docs that I want you to fill out, you're going to be able to type over the highlighted and blue area. Okay, so your answers should always be in this highlighted yellow color, and their answers should always be typed in blue. That's going to be easier for your teachers to see what's the actual lesson versus what your response is. Go ahead and pause my video right now and take 3 minutes to answer these 3 do now questions in complete sentences. Okay, at this point, you should have finished your do now completely. If you need some extra time, hit pause and then catch back up with us. Today for our lesson, we're going to be learning 2 skills that are going to be really useful for you next week. I wanted to make sure on day 1 you were able to access and use the technology appropriately and get any questions you have answered or figured out today so that next week when we're using these skills in our science classes, you're able to be successful. The first thing you're going to have to do here is we're going to learn how to create shapes in Google Docs. If your teacher is using something like Microsoft Word or some other platform, make sure that they have included instructions and you know how to do these instructions for that specific tool. This is only going to work if you're working in Google Docs. Follow along with me as I go through each of the steps. Step 1, the instructions are going to be highlighted in green here. Okay, so whenever you see highlighted instructions, really important you read those because they're going to tell you what to do, just like your teacher would if you were in class. So in science class, we're going to be using shapes as simple models for atoms. Okay, so for example, a triangle might represent an atom of oxygen. So we're going to be needing to learn how to draw shapes in Google Docs. So step 1, click Insert, hover over the drawing, and click New. Okay, so go here to where it says Drawing, okay, and you're going to go over and click New. Then you're going to click on this shape. It looks like a circle over a square. Click on that. And our first shape we're going to be drawing is we're going to be drawing a rectangle. So I'm going to hover over the shapes and I'm going to go over to where there's the rectangle here. And then in this space, I can draw a rectangle. I would highly recommend drawing small shapes about that size. That's going to be appropriate for being able to put and move around into your documents. The next thing you're going to have to know how to do is use the fill color tool. It looks like a little paint bucket's filling over. If you click on it, you can change it to a lot of different colors. The instructions on our paper tell us to change it to a black rectangle. So we're just going to click on black. It should now be black and filled in. And then we're going to hit save and close. Now, when I hit save and close, the shape's going to go into my Google Doc wherever my mouse was last on the page. So if you were last typing in the do now, your shape might show up in the do now. So let's see where my cursor was when I hit save and close. Yep, mine was up by the do now. That's a little bit annoying. The easiest way to move these around is if you click here in the middle. This is called wrap text. Click here, and then you're going to bring it all the way down, and it should scroll with you if you drag it all the way down. And we want to put our shape into that little box right there. Okay. Now, there's a couple other things that are going to be helpful here. The drawing margin, where it says 1/8 inch margin, that's going to be the space around the shape. It gets a little bit weird sometimes to move these shapes around. I think it's the easiest if you change that to 0 inches. So now it's easy to move my shape around wherever I want it to go, which is going to be really critical next week when we start drawing compounds and elements using these tools. Okay. So let's double check. I went through all the steps. We created a rectangle. We drew it. We highlighted it and changed it to black. We saved it. We changed it to wrap text, and we moved it into this box below. Okay. So that is how you create shapes. If that was way too fast for you, I understand. Hit pause, rewind the video, watch it again, go through the steps by yourself and make sure it works. Get really used to pausing these YouTube videos. That's going to be the best way that you stay on track with me as I work through this work. We're going to move on to our check for understanding. We're going to have check for understandings almost every day in this class. The way it's going to work is we're going to read the instructions. You're going to do what each question asks, and then you're going to pause the video. You're going to answer all parts of the questions, and then you're going to keep going through the video because I'm going to give you an answer key at the end that you're going to be able to check your work. It is really critical you do the work yourself first so that you know you are successful at doing this instead of just following along and using my answers. Really important that you can do this yourself. So today's check for understanding says create a shape for each question below. Be sure to drag it into the answer space. Another easy way to make this work is actually clicking where you want the shape to end up before you go and actually draw the shape. So the first one says create a red circle. That's going to go here. The second one says create a green triangle. That's going to go here. The third one says create a blue square. And there is a hint, and that's going to go here. So go ahead and pause my video, complete those 3 parts, and when you're ready, unpause, and we'll move on together. All right, at this point, you should have finished the entire check for understanding. If you did not, hit pause and then catch up. Here's our answer key. I want you to go ahead and look through your answers to make sure they match my answers. First one said create a red circle. Your shape should look something like this. If it's any larger than this, I would recommend making it smaller. You don't need these shapes to be very large. Second one, create a green triangle. There's my green triangle. Totally fine if you chose a slightly different color of green. Third one, create a blue square. Okay. My hint here was use the rectangle tool to make it look like a square. Okay. One side note that I did want to make is if you are someone who has red-green color blindness or another type of color blindness, please let your teacher know, because we're going to be able to change the questions for you so you're able to access these and do these just as well as other students. Give yourself a score out of 3 if you got all 3 correctly. Now, we're going to move on to the second skill here. I'm going to pause my video and get back into my Google Doc, and then we're going to move on together. Okay, the instructions here for our second one is to learn how to write a subscript. A subscript is a small number that's written next to an element in chemistry. So, we're going to go ahead and work through these different steps. So the first thing we need to do is write out a chemical formula. We're going to learn what chemical formulas are next week. For today, I wrote one out for you. So for example, H2O is a chemical formula. That's the chemical formula for water. However, if you noticed, whenever scientists write out H2O, the 2 in the H2O is actually written as a smaller number off to the right-hand side. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight just the number, like I've done here. We're going to click Format. We're going to go to Text, and then we're going to change that to Subscript. Okay. Now, there's another way to do it. If you highlight it, you can also hit Control, comma, and that changes it to a subscript as well. If that shortcut is tricky for you or you're struggling to do it, don't worry about it. Just use the format, text, subscript. That's totally fine. Okay. For your check for understanding today, I want you to change all of the numbers in these chemical formulas into subscripts. Be careful. Do not change any of the letters. Only change the numbers. Pause your video, complete that check for understanding, and then restart the video and we'll go through the answers together. Okay. At this point, you should be ready to go through your check for understanding answers. If you need extra time, once again, pause the video. Okay. The first one is CH4. Make sure the 4 is small and make sure the C and the H are normal size. CO2 should look like that. CH2OH should look like this. Please make sure that you only change that 2 in the middle of the chemical formula. All of the letters should still be normal size. Li2S, NH4. The last one didn't have a number. That was a trick. Please make sure you didn't change anything there. Give yourself a score out of 6. If you got all of them right, you should be getting 6 out of 6. Now, today, we're going to go through and show you how to do the mastery checks, okay? So your teacher should already have taught you earlier this year how to use Edulastic. If you were not using Edulastic, your teacher should have instructions for how to get it set up there. They will always follow the same code to take the mastery checks. DL, which stands for Distance Learning, _ 1.1 means Week 1, Lesson 1, or Module 1, Intro to eSchool Science 8 Mastery Check. It'll always have the title of what today's lesson was in there as well. That is the end of this video. Once again, reach out to your teachers if you need help. Make sure you're attending those science classes, and it's really exciting to have you learning with us as we move forward for the rest of this crazy year. Take care. Bye.